Hello, my name is Dan Skipdown, and this is Top 5 Weekly, where myself and a guest, we discuss a topic based on what movies are out in cinemas or theaters or streaming. In this case, this year has been crazy, so we just take the opportunity to try to discuss movies based on any topic we can. This is a month-long series that I'm doing based on the Academy Awards. Because the Academy Awards have been moved up to April, it gave me a little bit of a window of time to try to do some other ideas for shows and so forth. So I came up with sometimes, I do the classic month of Top 5 Weekly. Well, this time we're going to do an entire month of Academy Awards topics: Best Actor, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Picture. And, this is a podcast that I help with called Gone with the Wind. Well, I got that guy. His name is Manning. Manning, the guy who got me on his podcast, Gone with the Wind. I mean, how can you not have the guy who discusses awards come on here and discuss the best of Academy Awards, Best Pictures?
You make me sound a lot more important than I feel like I actually am. So I appreciate it, Dan. That is the best intro I've had so far, and I will keep it, and I will take it, and I will copy and paste it wherever I go.
Well, you deserve it because you really do a lot of work when it comes to trying to be a prognosticator on the awards season.
I try,
and I kind of weaseled my way in, and I'm glad you took me under your wing and let me get in there because I am a huge Oscarologist, just like you and the rest of the guys. And I've been watching the Oscars since I was a kid, since I was 6 years old. And 1980 is still going to haunt me the rest of my life. I don't care what anybody says. That's like a haunting year for me, 1980 was. And there's some bad years over the years. But we're talking about the best. The years that had the best picture winners. Not the years they're going to haunt us. And
no,
you had a couple of those haunting years as well over the years.
Oh yeah, no, I remember back when I was. This is going to show my age, but I was in college when we were having like a film Oscar viewing of, I think it was the year of La La Land, whichever, I think 2016 or something like that, or was it 2016? What was it? That was 2016.
Seems like
holy cow! And look how far we are, 2021. But I was there, and I remember seeing that and thinking like, oh my goodness, La La Land won, and then it's like, oh no, wait, Moonlight won. Like that image, half the audience being like, no, and the other half being like, yeah, and then being like, what? So it's this gambit of emotions that went all over people's faces, and I'm always going to remember that and that feeling that it elicited. Plus, I remember like going back and being like the one person who wanted like the artist to win, and then I was just like, yes, I'm happy about that.
The artist that deserved to win. I mean, I saw The Artist, and I just absolutely thought it was one of those films that you say to yourself, this is the best picture. This is clearly the best picture. It's about Hollywood. It's about the love of movies. It's about changing from the silent era to the. It just came out of nowhere, and we hardly ever seen that actor in anything anymore. The main actor, we've seen him in a couple things.
Yeah,
I'll recommend something for you. A good one. This came out last year that he was in, where he bought this leather jacket, and the leather jacket convinces him to go and kill people. It's funny. It's funny. It's like you ever see that movie Rubber about the killer tire?
No, I've heard one about the killer jeans, but not the killer tire.
This one's about a jacket, and the lead guy from The Artist buys this jacket, and then the jacket convinces him to start killing people. It's pretty funny.
I feel like with him winning the Oscar, Jean Dujardin, with him winning that with the Oscar, it seemed like he took a trajectory that is to me similar or akin to like a Nicolas Cage or Cuba Gooding Jr. They haven't done the best work in their career for the longest time after they won their Oscar. Maybe he'll have a resurgence of some kind. But I know he's a French actor. I'm assuming he's done a lot more French films.
Yeah, oh yeah. He's only been in a few American films because he's done a lot of French work. Yeah, but let's not get off on Jean Dujardin here. Let's get into this. My guest always goes first, so you're the guest on the Top 5 Weekly. Best Picture, Academy Award winning Best Pictures edition. So you get to go first. What is your number 5?
Okay, so this was really difficult when you invited me to on this, because I will quickly just go off and say that this is a mixture of both my personal favorites and what I think are also some of the most consequential as well too when it comes to it's leaning more toward my personal favorites, but I'm still the fifth one was the hardest one to figure out, in all honesty, because there's 5 other ones waiting in the wings. But right now, if I had to pick only one, and only one, it would have to be. Get ready for this. It would have to be Moonlight. After the one that actually.
After that whole thing at the beginning, and now you go into Moonlight. So this you've come around to this.
I have. So what I was going to say regarding Moonlight is I was the person who was like, yeah, La La Land, I want La La Land to win. Moonlight has grown on me the more the years go by. I have seen that, and the beautiful structure that Barry Jenkins has created in that film is breathtaking. The color palette is still probably one of my favorite color palettes in film. It is the wonderful blue and purple hues, some yellows as we get into the later life of Chiron. It is breathtaking cinema, and it's one of the most intimate films that have won the Oscar in a long time. Usually Oscar films are epics, or they feel larger than life. This one feels like the lens, the focus, it never drifts from our main character and those connected to him. It is an intimate, deeply haunting portrayal of masculinity, specifically Black masculinity. And I think it is a movie that was needed at the time. Whether, of course, I love La La Land. Do I love it more? Maybe, maybe not. But I think Moonlight has such a pivotal importance in what it means, because you look back at 12 Years a Slave, which is another movie directed by a black director. It was the subject matter was something akin that we've seen before. Oh, the year of slavery, of Civil War, around that time. But this felt so different and so pivotal, and was like a turning point, what it feels to me, about what the Oscars could be and they could do, gearing up for other films later, like Shape of Water, like Parasite, where they were going outside of their comfort zone of the traditional English patient gladiator dramas. Not that I don't dislike those movies. I love them. But this was a turning point. And I think as an artistic merit, this movie is just, I bow to it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that year to me.
What a year.
I always tell people I think it was just a tie that year. I don't think one was the winner over the other. Obviously, Moonlight had
more votes, but
ended up as the winner, and in history that'll go down as the winner. But I feel like that fiasco, that snafu that happened, and people forget that Damien Chazelle won Best Director. Barry Jenkins didn't win Best Director, so they split those two. One won Best Picture, the other one Best Director, and then the snafu happens. You're like, these two movies are going to be connected in Oscar history.
Oh yeah,
the rest of their lives. That you can never separate La La Land and Moonlight. So in a way, they're connected, and one can't be the winner without the other, and so forth. And so, even though Moonlight is the winner, and it is absolutely a beautiful, gorgeous film, I highly recommend. Anybody who hasn't seen it to see. I mean, I hope if you're a movie fan by now, you've seen
please.
It. Jeez. But yeah, I saw it. I snuck into a press screening of this
nice
on November 2nd of that year, and there was only 3 people in there, and I just was like crying, way up in the top where a lot of people couldn't see me, but because I just felt this movie was so just powerful, and so it needed to be made, it needed to be out there, and it needed to be championed. And little by little that year, it started gaining momentum and so forth. Sometimes in the Oscar race, these movies just hit the right stride at the right time, and I think La La Land had kind of started losing some momentum, and Moonlight had started taking over, and and that's why I ended up winning, even though they did have the snafu. So that was a very good number 5 for you.
Thank you.
I have Moonlight in my honorable mentions. I do not have my top 5.
It was close to being my honorable mentions. I will talk about what was almost beating it out.
Yeah. I'm a fan of older pictures, movies that really talk about kind of the old Hollywood feeling and the things that like the old kinds of movies. And a movie that to me that really got that old feeling of the Cecil B. DeMille movies, the biblical movies, the Ten Commandments or the Ben-Hurs, was a movie that came out in 2000, and that was a movie called Gladiator. It had the epic nature of those old films. It had great set pieces. It had some of the new technology to do some of the crowd scenes and some of the background stuff that they did, which was groundbreaking for the time that Ridley Scott did some of that stuff. And if you've seen Gladiator, go get the 4K, because the 4K really accentuates a lot of that stuff, but it also has special features, and it goes in depth on how all that stuff was done on the Gladiator 4K Blu-ray. But yeah, Russell Crowe at this time in his career was at the top of his game.
Prime.
He could do no wrong for about 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years, maybe a decade there. And I just think this is the kind of film that we wanted. We needed this epic years and years later that showed us that all those movies that they made, the Cleopatras and the Ben-Hurs and all, look, we could still make great epics. And it was in the year 2000 of all years. So it had like a champion of like all these great films that happened decades before. And we went into a new century with a movie that was so epic and had such great stories, and such Joaquin Phoenix, what an amazing.
So good.
He completely got robbed. He should have won an Oscar for that. He was as Commodus, and just a couple great actors died. Oliver Reed, that was his last
During
movie.
it, yeah.
Richard Harris. We didn't get any more Richard Harris. Maybe the Harry Potter movies came after that. I'm not sure, but not very long after that. But
no, they were not long.
But so we had some. These are some of the last movies of some great people. But Russell Crowe was incredible. I mean, I can't say enough. So, you got any thoughts about Gladiator?
Oh, absolutely. And I will give you a little spoiler. Gladiator was going to be on my honorable mentions as well, too. Like, if you asked me 5 years ago or 6 or what have you, it might have been in my top 5, because when it comes to epics, again, I agree. Like, I love Ben-Hur. I love the Ten Commandments. I love Lawrence of Arabia. I love those epics. I'm still waiting for a good modern day epic. The last one was Gladiator, to me, that was of like super high caliber, and the bar has not been overtaken since then, in my mind at least. Like, you had Robin Hood with Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe, and not the best, entertaining, not the best. I think this is a fantastic work of art and a work of just spectacle. And Ridley Scott is such a versatile director. I love almost everything he has done. Well, let me take that back. I have loved a lot that he has done, and then there's some that he falls off. But he is a director that takes risks. He's the guy that did Thelma and Louise, for crying out loud. You do not equate Ridley Scott with Thelma and Louise, Gladiator, and then Blade Runner. Those don't seem to mash up, but they do in Ridley Scott's mind. And Gladiator was his epic, almost his magnum opus. And the fact that he didn't win director that year, to me, is a crime in and of itself. The fact that he doesn't have an Oscar at some point, or at this point, is a crime. And Russell Crowe, you're right, he's at his prime. From The Insider to Gladiator to A Beautiful Mind, his Oscar nomination. He was doing it back to back. He was, from this time frame, like Hollywood's it boy, until years later passed and he had some controversy and he just wasn't the same for a while. Out of those 3, I think my favorite is still A Beautiful Mind when it comes to performances, just because of the range that he develops. But this one, as Maximus Decimus Meridius, iconic. The music, Hans Zimmer, iconic. Everything is just. I just can't say much more about it, but it is phenomenal. It is a great film.
Yeah. I just love it. I just that's the kind of thing I love about movies is something like that can come out of nowhere and you're like, oh my God, in the year 2000, a great
I know, right?
gladiator epic, swords and sandals movie, that's what I love. What's your number 4?
Let me get that up. I was so busy talking about Gladiator, I forgot to get it up. But off the top of my head, it is. Yes, it is. Number 4. This one I don't. This one is. I think you'd be shocked to hear from me. This is one I don't think many people know how much I adore this film. But it's one that I saw, I believe, like 3 years ago, and I've just watched it like every 6 months. I'll just watch it. Without any further ado, it's Billy Wilder's The Apartment. Now, people don't know this, but Billy Wilder, when he did The Apartment, from this, he is both the singular producer, he is the singular director, obviously, but he's the singular writer as well, too. This was a passion project for him that he did. And The Apartment, God bless Jack Lemmon and God bless Shirley MacLaine. This chemistry that they exhibit, the kind of hilariosity that ensues at the same time, the almost, how do you call it? The almost just like not series of unfortunate events, but almost just a series goes on top of others. There's a phrase I can't really pinpoint at this time, but it's just one bad thing happens again and again and again and again. And all this time, these two are meant for each other. It's very much in the vein of It Happened One Night, and I had to choose between the two of them. It's probably The Apartment, merely because I think the humor hits a lot better, probably because it's closer to our time, in my opinion. Not to take away anything from Frank Capra, but Billy Wilder manages to nail the zany kind of comedy, but also hits those dramatic beats beautifully. And when it comes to comedies that have ever won the Oscar, because I do consider The Apartment still a comedy with dramatic elements, The Apartment is probably my favorite comedy, and I would encourage anyone who has not seen it, when it won that year, I believe it was 1960 that it came out. It is a movie that I thoroughly enjoy and will watch just to put a smile on my face, because it deals with fantastic gender dynamics at the time as well too, and goes along with the American workplace and questions those lines, while also giving some great likable characters, both Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, and what they do and the zany antics that they go about, while also getting closer together in a very intimate way, for the time period at least. And I think they give magnificent performances that go between comedic and dramatic with a flip of a coin. I love it, and I think The Apartment is a standout when it comes to comedy at the Oscars. So Billy Wilder, bravo, sir, bravo.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine who was going to be on this episode, and then he decided he was going to do a different episode, and I think he would have had The Apartment on his top 5.
Yes, good man.
I have The Apartment in my honorable mentions, but I will tell you this: I wasn't one of these people that came to The Apartment early on. I came to The Apartment late. And,
yes.
I think it was the best thing for me, because it showed the later I came to it, the more appreciation I had for it. If I would have came to it as a younger person, like I did so many other films, I may not have had the appreciation I had as a 40-year-old for The Apartment, and the stuff that goes on in the apartment, just with dealing with alcoholism, the workplace, just the relationship aspects of the film. It really had some subject matter that really resonated with me as a 40-year-old, a person in my 40s, rather than if I was 6 years old or 7 years old or 10 years old, if I had seen it, like I've seen so many other classic films. And so I really do love this film. And when you brought it up, I was like, thank you. I'm glad. So this way we could talk about this phenomenal film. And there's not, look, movies like this come along very, very rarely.
Very rarely.
It Happened One Night, The Apartment, and there's not a lot of these just
Investigation.
There just isn't that many just movies like this that have this kind of the mix of drama, comedy, but also says something about society as we live in and so forth. And this is a phenomenal film. I absolutely love that pick at number 4 for you. My number 4, when I talked about how I watched all those epics, like Ben-Hur and all that stuff, but I also watched a lot of Westerns when I was a kid. and Gary Cooper and John Wayne and just Sergio Leone and all these guys. I just were like, I just ate up westerns. I just absolutely loved westerns. But the guy that really did it for me as I became like 12, 13, 14, 15, 10 years old was Clint Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood's movies like Pale Rider, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Two Mules for Sister Sarah. Those are the kind of movies, the High Plains Drifter, that just for me just was like, this is the kind of westerns I really, really love. And then Clint Eastwood's magnum opus, you talk about magnum opuses, the movie to me that really takes the Western and turns it on its head, but it also is like the movie that you think about now, at least I do when I think about Westerns, and that is Unforgiven. Unforgiven to me is a just phenomenal film that takes the good guy and turns him into the bad guy, and takes the bad guy and turns him into the good guy. William Money is the bad guy. I killed women and children and this and that. And Gene Hackman's the good guy. He's got this town, no guns in my town. He beats up English Bob. He's got holes in his roof. He's got all, just he comes across, and then they just switch it. And what happens to Morgan Freeman? And you're like, oh my God, how could this?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, and it's just Clint Eastwood's perfect movie. But I heard decades before he had this movie, but he knew he couldn't make it when he actually had the rights and he had the script and everything for this movie. He knew he had to age into it, and he directed it, and he wrote it, and starred in it. And to me, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And as a fan of Westerns, this is the movie that defines the Western genre for me. And that's Unforgiven. That's my number 4.
I wish I had more to say regarding Unforgiven. Westerns have never been my genre per se, but I have to give you have to give kudos where kudos is due, and that is with Clint Eastwood's going from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Fistful of Dollars, and that entire trilogy of films to where we are today. And people know him as the gruff old man from Gran Torino, but in between that, he had Unforgiven, which I think is a brilliant Western and deconstruction of the genre. When films can go outside of the bubble that they are in and deconstruct outside of just being a very good film, but deconstruct the genre that they are in, I get massive props. And Clint Eastwood is while at times nowadays he can be very lazy, the wrong word. He can be less he could be not take the time and the care. Unforgiven, he took a lot of time and a lot of care into that I can see, and I can see the love in almost each lens and each frame that he has, not only as an actor but in the genre of Western. This guy who loves Westerns, and that is something that is clearly evident in Unforgiven. And I think it's a very deserving win for that year that it won. 19. Okay, get ready to correct me, Dan. Okay, is it 1991?
Yeah.
Or is it 19? It was 1991.
Yeah, 91.
Yes.
I believe it's 91.
Okay.
I don't think it was 93. I don't think it was 93.
93 was 91 was Silence of the 91 Silence of the Lambs? 91 was Silence of the Lambs.
Was it?
So this was 92?
92.
I believe.
92.
Something along those lines. I could be very wrong, and I probably am wrong.
Was Dances with Wolves 93?
I think that was 90.
Yeah. Those years are they jumble together for me. So
they all
picture winners
they all jumble together. I don't know how I know that, but yeah, 91 was Silence of the Lambs, because that was the same year that Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, and it was just kind of like, what a weird pairing for Silence of the Lambs and Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, but yeah, so no, that's fine. Westerns aren't everybody's thing. It's just something that, as a kid, I grew up with classic films and stuff, and Westerns just were one of the genres that I just gravitated towards, But let's get to your number 3.
My number 3 is one that honestly, I think most film fans nowadays would be like, we're far removed from it, so people may not rank it as high. But for me, it holds a special place in my heart. And you know what? Let's do it. For my number 3, it is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. For those who know me, knows that I am a big Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien fan. I took a class in college called Military History of Middle Earth. I was yes, I did, and I have loved every second of it. The Silmarillion is right. Where are you?
Are we getting that as a film? Are we going to get that TV show on Amazon?
That would be very difficult if we were to actually get it as it'd be much more work, but much more. It would work much better as a TV show. But right now, I have the Unfinished Tales from J.R.R. Tolkien that's right under here. I can't find the Silmarillion. Oh, there it is. It's over there, but I'm not going to reach it in my bookshelf because it's too far away. But I am a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien. And Peter Jackson, what he translated to the screen is just like chef's kiss. It is a beautiful amalgamation or beautiful climax of these 3 films. It is a 3-act structure, basically. Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. And if anything, that picture, it deserved the picture of the year for the consistency that trilogy managed to do and bring fantasy to an elevated genre. I'm not talking about science fantasy like Star Wars and of itself, which did get the nomination in 1977, but I'm talking about like just pure fantasy with elves and dwarves and dragons and all that fun stuff. Orcs and trolls and giant spiders named Shelob. Everything. And let's not even get into the fact that there's still much more that's left undiscovered. There we go. Undiscovered by Peter Jackson. This is just an epic on all levels. And every time I watch Return of the King, I always cry at the end without fail. Mr. Frodo, I can't carry you. Sorry, I can carry. Hold on. Mr. Frodo, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. Everything along those lines is just peak perfection when it comes to cinema. It is the most cinematic movie that I will remember as a kid going to see and just being in awe at the practical effects that were used, the special effects that were used, the visual effects, the acting, the cinematography, the makeup, editing, the screenplay, the directing. It was just a beautiful marriage of all the departments coming together and creating something that felt like it was not from Earth, but from Middle Earth. And as an Oscar achievement, I give it full kudos. And to this day, it is a film that I will go back to at least once a year, extended edition, and fall madly in love with over and over again.
Yeah, I watched every one of those extended editions, all the special features. I don't know how many days it took me to do it, but I did
a lot.
It was like
a couple years.
I think it was like 8 days it took me to do all the. And then, of course, last year it came out on 4K, and I started doing it again. I think I got halfway through the Fellowship, and I stopped. I got to get back to that, but I got them all on my Vudu, so I could just go to my Vudu anytime I want and start working on it. But now this is a culmination of all these years of work, all this just great craftsmanship behind the scenes, and the crafts departments, the music department, the cinematography. I mean, this is an achievement that they basically rewarded that year for everything that had come along previously from the previous 2 years. It's sad that
11 Oscars.
It's sad that nobody had won an acting Academy Award. And obviously Ian McKellen was nominated. That would have been great if Ian McKellen would have won an Academy Award for playing Gandalf. I mean, tell me how awesome that would be. Say that again.
Who won that year for 2001?
I can't remember who won, but he lost. That's all I know. Oh. He's overdue. Ian McKellen was overdue for an Academy Award. He had been given performance after performance after performance in so many great little smaller films. And you're like, how has this guy not won something? And I thought, oh, this is the year. They're going to give it to him for Gandalf. And they didn't do it. But yeah, what a great choice at number 3. And I can't fault you for having that on your list. You're a younger man.
Thank you.
You probably a lot of people grew up with these films more so.
Yeah.
I watched them all. Yeah, I watched them all, but I was an adult. And so I didn't grow up reading the books and stuff like you did. And so I read different books and whatnot. But but yeah, these are great films. I mean, the achievement of what movie making is all about is there on screen, and it's amazing what they were able to do. The craftsmanship that went into those movies, and yeah, so great choice at number 3. I, on the other hand, do not have a number 3. So I'm gonna go back to you on your number 2.
Okay, all right. Well, what I was gonna say, actually, real fast, is that Ian McKellen lost in 2001 when he was nominated for Fellowship of the Ring. Jim Broadbent as John Bailey in Iris, a movie I have not seen. Have you seen Iris?
No, I haven't, but it can't be as good as Ian McKellen. Come on.
I see. Apparently, Ian McKellen won a SAG though for Gandalf, which I'm like, that's really cool. Actually,
That is cool.
SAG can be really cool, honestly, because the fact that they got him one of those is just kind of like mind-numbingly cool. Mind-numbingly cool.
Give me a break, Jim Broadbent. I mean, I like Jim Broadbent. Don't get me wrong.
It's like preface. I do like him.
I gotta see Iris.
Apparently now too, because he apparently dethroned him. Actually, I'm gonna look up right now. Was that 2000? Yeah, Ian McKellen won. Wow, that is really cool. The fact that he won there. Moving right along, but my number 2 is, I have to make sure I list. I'm curious now if we're gonna start to like have the same exact list start to show up at the same time. My number 2 is Schindler's List.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Schindler's List, which still to this day is Steven Spielberg's best work. While my favorite will always be Jaws, just for the sheer spectacle and the sheer what it means for cinema in general, Schindler's List is by far his best. Saving Private Ryan's great, but Schindler's List is his best work. The emotion behind every single frame, the music, I can hear it in the violin in my head right now, and like I'm welling up thinking about it. What Liam Neeson does in this film, and what Ray Fiennes does in this film as a supporting character, as such a vile person that we sympathize in little bits and spurts until we're like yanked back and realized, oh wow, you are a horrible person. But then we see Oscar Schindler man who's conflicted with himself, and when he says, I could have done more, I could have been more, this could have been someone else, this could have been someone else, that scene will always never cease to be like, wrench my soul out. The use of black and white gives this quality that almost seems otherworldly, because it's not black and white as in like, oh, we're getting the aesthetic of an older film. It's not like they did with Mank, where they felt like it was during that time period. This one felt like it was just the color was gone. There is no color, and it feels like it's been sucked away while your entire soul is being transfixed on what is transpiring. Schindler's List is an all-time best when it comes to the Oscars, and I cannot thank Spielberg enough for giving us such a wonderful piece of art.
Yeah, and I had it on my top 5 of directors. That's out right now. You could watch that. That's and I definitely had that on there for my directors. And this movie I got it in my honorable mentions for picture. You mentioned the use of black and white was just amazing. But then there was the little girl with the pink dress.
Yes.
And you see her at the beginning, and then near the end, you see her again. And it's just such a heartbreaking moment at the beginning. And then when you see her again later on in that little pink dress, where she is and what happened to her character.
What's become of him.
Yeah. And I always say Ben Kingsley is just amazing as Meyer, not Meyer. Damn it. What's
Ben Kingsley? Oh, shoot.
I said Meyer Lansky, but that's his character from another movie. He's in another movie. I think Bugsy. He's Meyer Lansky. No, his character in Schindler's List is amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. He's incredible. But like you said, Liam Neeson, Ralph Fiennes. I mean, just it's really. And the fact of the matter is, Steven Spielberg made 2 movies in 1993, Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. And it's like, how can, I mean, 2 different movies, yet both achievements in their own way, and he's won Best Director twice, once for Schindler's List, once for Saving Private Ryan.
Hmm.
But the guy is my second favorite director of all time. I mean,
Same.
I just love, his movies have spanned so many genres and whatnot. Like you said, Jaws and the horror movie
Oh,
genre,
yeah.
E.T. and
Indiana Jones.
yeah, adventure, and we got sci-fi, and we got, but the guy is amazing. And this is an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking. I didn't have it on my best pictures because I had some other ones on there that to me mean more to me, but I definitely have it in my honorable mentions. But you just can't. I mean, if I had 10 to choose from, it would be in my top 10 Schindler's List as far as best pictures. But I did, like I said, had Spielberg in there for best director because he's my second favorite director. So I had to get my second favorite director on the list.
Oh, absolutely.
But I did say that I didn't have a number 3, but I do have a tie at number 2. Look.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, did he just forget to do a 3? How unprofessional of yourself, Dan. Oh, how could you, sir? No.
I can make the rules however I
You
want.
can. You can.
And so I have a tie at number 2. And I think the reason why I didn't have a number 3 is because you can't really separate these two films that won Best Picture. So to me, they should be together because in history and life and just in filmography and everything, they are tied together in a way that no two films in the history, maybe Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars, but that's a whole other thing.
They didn't win Oscars.
But they didn't win Oscars, so we can't do that. So these two films to me, and if you know anything about me, you know how much the gangster genre, that thing, that grittiness about gangsters and the crime genre, and that thing really resonates with me. I kind of have a love for like doing bad, people that do bad and that get away with being bad. And The Godfather to me as a child was just bigger than life. And then when Coppola went and did The Godfather Part 2 and split it into like 2 parts, young Vito Corleone and older Vito, and then the Michael story, and how those stories kind of interact in Godfather Part 2, it just was like 2 absolute masterpieces of films. And Coppola doesn't win for The Godfather. He only wins for The Godfather Part 2 for director. But both movies won for Best Picture. Al Pacino doesn't win at all for either.
No.
And it's like, how does this not happen? How does Al Pacino not win for either of these films?
Wait, wasn't Al Pacino campaigned in?
He was supporting. Wow.
He should have been in. He should have been in lead.
Wow.
He should have been in lead.
Brando was in lead, and Brando wins for lead. Doesn't show up. The Indian woman, shows up and accepts his award because of the treatment of American Indians. And what's his name? Both of them actually, Brando and Pacino both boycotted the Oscars that year because Pacino thought he should have been in lead and Brando should have been in supporting.
I do agree with that because the film is, at the end of the day, it is not about Vito Corleone. It's about Michael Corleone.
And if you switch it, he definitely is the winner. I mean, Al Pacino should have been the winner of Best Actor in 1972, and Brando should have been Best Supporting Actor, and he should have won. They should have both won for that movie, and it's a travesty that somebody won for Harry and Tonto or somebody like that. Harry and Tonto ended up winning. I'm like, no, this is no. Or one of the years, Harry and Tonto ended up winning.
I might have been, because I remember Joel Grey for Cabaret, I believe, won Best Supporting Actor that year for that one, which I think because you had James Caan, you had Al Pacino, and you had, who's the other?
Brando.
Duvall, because all 3 of them got nominated. They might have split each other, is what I'm thinking. They probably split each other in that sense.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, very good point. But to me, I mean, I love, Luca Brasi. He's swimming with the fishes, just so. And then the cat was just this cat on set that Brando grabbed and he made part of his kid. He put all this cotton in his mouth, and he made the character's iconic.
He is.
It's arguably, I know a lot of people would say Darth Vader, Hannibal Lecter, but I feel like Vito Corleone is one of the most iconic characters in the history of movies. To me, just to me. Obviously, other people might feel differently, but I probably watch the Godfather trilogy, at least 1 and 2, once a year. You know, I just recently got 3 on Blu-ray, the special cut from Francis Ford Coppola. It was good, you know, but it doesn't hold up to the Godfather, the Godfather Part 2. And with, like you said, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Talia Shire. I mean, John Cazale as Fredo. Oh my God, just 2 phenomenal films. I just couldn't separate them into a 2 or a 3, one better than the other. So my show, I put them together. It's a tie at number 2.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It is your show, man. You have all the power when it comes to this. We're merely the putty in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
What I can say about them is that this is cinema. The first Godfather was in my honorable mention list, but this is cinema to me. Gangster films are also not like the Western for me. The ones I don't gravitate toward, but there is no way, shape, or form that you cannot look at The Godfather and be like, that is just classic cinema. 72, the year, was it 72 or 73?
72.
72, okay. 72, the year of our Lord, 1972, when The Godfather came out, and it just changed everything. Brando, phenomenal. Pacino, phenomenal. Michael Corleone is also a very underrated character in cinema. He is, like, people think of Vito Corleone, think of Michael as well too, and what he goes through, and just the epic scale of the redefinition of what gangster films are now because of what The Godfather, because of what that was, because of what he did. He has now revolutionized what gangster films are. Like, they started to fall off after like the 30s or something, and then they never came up to their level until about that time. Then you had stuff like Goodfellas years ago, or years later, and then you had Scarface. You had some other films that tried to capture that, but The Godfather to me is the OG, and like bow down to the respect that film has.
Yeah. And Godfather Part 2 was
yes,
adding on to what was already great, and made both of them that much more greater, if you could say more greater. But I just did.
We get you.
All right, let's get into some honorable mentions here.
Yes.
You said you had 5. I've been naming some of mine off as we've been going here. So
I actually had 6. I lied. I miscounted, but oh well. Like, I had The Godfather, as I had mentioned. I had Lawrence of Arabia, a beautiful film that I think is probably the quintessential epic from David Lean, and just, it has one of my favorite shots in all of cinema, is the simple from Peter O'Toole blowing out that one little flame, and then it transitions to the next scene. You just see what is probably one of the most gorgeous looking epics of all time, and a great character study into the person that was Lawrence of Arabia. Love that film. Another shout out to Amadeus. Amadeus is a phenomenal film. The way that it goes into the psyche of 2 different characters of Mozart and
Salieri.
Thank you. I keep wanting to say Scollione. No, that's not right. Salieri. And the dichotomy between those two, and the power struggle that one of them has toward the other, and the jealousy. It uses music so beautifully without making it just a traditional biopic. I love that film. I also have Gladiator, as I mentioned beforehand. You have The Sound of Music, one of my favorite musicals of all time. And I think when it comes to quintessential musicals, is one that I think deserved it that year that it came out. Sometime in the 60s, I can't recall exactly, maybe 65. I'm trying to remember these dates because I'm not good with movie dates. So I'm just going to try to do this every time that I can to say them out loud in my head. And finally, another one that I have is actually, oh, wow, I missed another one. Okay. The other one I have is You Can't Take It With You. Not the best Frank Capra, but I just wanted to highlight it because I think it is an underrated Capra film. It is one of his quintessential ones back in 38, I believe. It is great film. One of quintessential Gene Arthur and Lionel Barrymore, Jimmy Stewart, great. But I also wanted to highlight the one that I was really looking forward to, but I didn't want to put in my top 5. It would have been my 5, but I needed time to age a little bit more, and that's Parasite. I am a big Parasite fan. I was screaming up and down, cheering from all that is left and right when Parasite ultimately won, because this film to me is like what modern cinema should be. Just something that is different, unique, but also engaging and culturally relevant too, that says something and speaks to the time, but also has a universal flow to it that can be seen not just right here, but years later as well too. This is why I think Parasite is a great honorable mention, but it just came out last year and change. So I want time before I put it in the top 5. I want to let it breathe just a little bit more, at least a couple years or so before I say anything else being one of the best.
Yeah, no, I agree. Parasite, which is a phenomenal film. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I had Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane. I mean, what can you say about Citizen? We even got a movie about the making or the writing of Citizen Kane and all the drama that went into that. And Mankiewicz and all that stuff. Mank. Are you looking something up? Are you looking?
Yeah, Didn't Citizen Kane lose?
I thought it won. I could be wrong. I thought it won.
I mean, if it won, it would definitely be on my list, like a top 5. But I'm pretty sure that it lost to like How Green Was My Valley.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Why did I put Citizen Kane on here? On my honorable mentions. Good thing I didn't have it in my actual top 5.
Would have been like, so
made me look bad.
We gotta do this again.
Yeah. So all right. See, Citizen Kane is not in there. I was looking at your faces. Oh, don't tell me Citizen Kane's never won for Best Picture. I thought it did. I don't know why. I thought it did.
It won one. It won screenplay.
Oh, okay. Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah,
that's my fault. Sometimes I look stuff up and then the stuff I probably should look up, I don't look up. So there you
go. It's okay.
You mentioned Lawrence of Arabia. I'm going to double down on David Lean. I would say Bridge on the River Kwai.
Great one.
God, what a great film. Both of them. What a great, two great films. I mean, to watch.
Oh yeah.
Lawrence and then back to back. You better hope you have a whole day to do that because you're going to need a lot of time because they're both two very, very long. For me, everybody knows me. I'm a huge sports fan, and I love the underdog story. And even though he didn't win in the end, he got the woman, and that's all that matters. And he got the chance. And Rocky, to me, is just. I mean, should Rocky have won for Best Picture? I don't know. That's argumentative. I love Rocky, so it's one of my favorites. Maybe something else should have won for Best Picture that year.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But Rocky won, so I got Rocky on there as an honorable mention. And I already mentioned some of the other honorable mentions because you were kind of naming them off on your own personal list. So, all right, we have come to that moment.
We have come to the moment, the final one.
Manning, what is your number one?
My number one is one of the best films of all time, and to me is one that should be regarded as just quintessential cinema. A film that that won the year after How Green Is My Valley won in 1942. And that is Casablanca. Casablanca, excuse me, I'm just excited. Directed by Michael Curtiz. Curtiz. Is it Curtiz or Curtis?
Curtiz.
I always to this day am like, I don't hear people say his name out loud, so it's hard to no, but it's Curtiz. Caught myself. But this romantic drama is, to me, just it oozes cinema. And when I say it oozes cinema, when I say the word cinema, when I say that, it just evokes a particular feel for those people who have grown up with film, for those people who know what, the classics and how film kind of was, where it came from, where it just kind of it became just a cultural icon. You look at the memorable lines and the pointed characters that it gives. Is it the best film of all time? Possibly. That's the thing. It possibly might be the best film of all time. Debate, of course, is there, but I think Casablanca just holds such a special place in my heart because you can always have lines like "We'll always have Paris" or "Play it again, Sam. Play as time goes by," or you'll have, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. "Round up the usual suspects." All these lines that are just yes, yes, a hit it until the point now. We are just, we say these in almost everyday lives, maybe not to the extent that they was said, but they have just become synonymous with pop culture. And you can tell a film has such staying power when it just becomes, when the osmosis of the film is just directed toward us as individuals, and the power that Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, and the rest of those people had. Claude Rains, what an underrated supporting actor during that time period. Claude Rains is phenomenal and just has so much charisma, but Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman are quintessential in what they do. And I think Casablanca, rightfully so, is one of the best films of all time from what it represents at the time period, what the lasting power it holds, the lasting power it managed to possess. And I could go in all day about the power of Casablanca and why I love it so much, but I'll stop myself here before I go too far onto it, because it is just it is a plethora of just good quality filmmaking, from directing to writing to cinematography to just set direction. I love all of it, and I'm gonna love it from years to come.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Another great one.
My number one is Casablanca.
Hey!
We never discussed this ahead of time.
No.
We just came up with our own lists and so forth. But my favorite film of all time is Casablanca. So if I'm going to do it, go ahead.
I remember you saying something along the lines that was your favorite film of all time, but the fact that we both had number one, it's not my favorite film of all time, but it's like top five. It is top five right up there. The fact that this is the one to win, yes, but please go ahead.
Yeah, Casablanca is my number one film of all time. Godfather is my number two, and Godfather number two is my number three. So there you go. So Casablanca has a place in my heart that I watch it every year, at least once a year, and every time I watch it, I see something new. Peter Lorre's character, Sidney Greenstreet, the things that they do. Conrad Veidt. I'm looking over here on my wall because I got a poster of Paul Henreid. Ingrid Bergman is just so amazing. Just you said so many great things about this film, and one of the things that I love about film in general is how people decades later use older films as part of their tribute, and how they love older films and put them things that they've seen in older movies, whether camera tricks or things in the script or whatever. Well, George Lucas, which we all know, did Star Wars. Well, in Star Wars, there's a little thing called the Mos Eisley Cantina. And you know what that is from? The Mos Eisley Cantina? It's Rick's Cafe American.
Oh, yeah.
That set is used from Rick's Cafe American as Mos Eisley Cantina. And so you could see the love from other filmmakers of Casablanca, and the kind of Han Solo is like Rick Blaine, that kind of thing. If you kind of look at the two characters, I stick my neck out for nobody. He is like Han Solo in a lot of ways. Rick Blaine is, and of course, but he has a soft spot in his heart. And when Ingrid Bergman comes back into the picture, it's just like his mind starts going.
Twirling and whirling.
Yeah, because he still loves her, but he knows he isn't meant to be with her, and that these two are meant to be, Paul Henreid and her are meant to be together. And the same thing goes for Louis. Louis has a sentimentality to him that he goes in on with Rick, and they kind of let the thing that needs to happen. And it has so many, it checks so many boxes of genre, like war film, just noir, just I mean, it has so much quality to it. It's there's a reason why it's my number one film, but it's my favorite film of all time because I just have I guess you can call me a softie or whatever, but I just have a something in my heart for a good romance that people can go off into the sunset or go off into a plane and take off
in the fog.
In the fog and
not safe. Everyone, don't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, Humphrey Bogart to me is one of the great characters of all time. This movie is my favorite movie of all time. I couldn't do this list without putting Casablanca at number one, and it's just so great that you had Casablanca as your number one as well, Manning.
I mean that just shows that we both know quality cinema when we see it. While we have different tastes, we come back down to something we recognize to be this is definitely like the best. And I think anyone you talk to would be like it'd be in their top 5. Anyone you talk to, or at least their honorable mentions, because I don't think people can not talk about the impact that Casablanca has had on the film industry as a whole and just movie making, because we go back to just maybe not at the time period, it didn't have the cultural relevance, but it has the staying power that I think not many films that have won the Oscar have had. Like no one remembers How Green Is My Valley. I don't think I've seen How Green Is My Valley, just because like it's not one people go or say, hey, go see How Green Is My Valley. Remember that great scene and that line? No, Casablanca is the one. No offense to How Green Is My Valley, but Casablanca is the one that we're just still talking. It has become iconic.
Yeah, it really is. And that is the perfect way to end this episode of the Top 5 Weekly, a month of Academy Awards winning films and actors and directors and so forth. And I couldn't have ended it any better without having my Gone with the Wind buddy here, Manning. Manning, where can you be found?
You can find me at Twitter at Cine_Man. That's CINE_MANN, as well as on Take 3 Productions YouTube channel, where I host Gone with the Wind with Dan over here, as well as some other compatriots that we have. We are getting into drumroll Oscar season, as we are talking. But we also have the Gone with the Wind Awards that are currently going on right now. So please take your time to vote once you have seen all the films you want to, because next week it will be going, well, not next week, but in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? We're going bye-bye. So just to let you all know. So look out for that and get ready to see the Oscars, because I know I'm excited. Oh, and my YouTube channel, Manning Franks. See for video essays and stuff like that. But yeah, this my name. Just look for it.
Yeah, he did a really cool video about
Thank
a month ago that I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I wish I could do stuff like that. I can't I see this banner on the bottom of the screen here, folks, is a little hard.
You barely have time to do that.
Hit play and hit cancel or whatever. Stop is hard for me. But I might be starting to do my own thumbnails. So crossing my fingers, maybe I get my thumbnails in the future. So that's a plus for me to be able to do that. But you can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, I'm a film critic in the Orlando, Florida area. I write for a website called disappointmentmedia.com. Don't at me. I didn't come up with the name. I just write for them. Also, my own blog, From the Fourth Row, at wordpress.com. Also, you're watching the Top 5 Weekly. I do this. I try to do it every week, but sometimes it's hard to get guests to come on and do the various topics. So sometimes I might skip a week or 6 months, whatever, because films aren't coming out. So that's sometimes. And I do another show. It's a summer series. It's called Bleacher Features, where myself and a guest, we discuss a sports film and we break it down from top to bottom. That'll start up in June. So hopefully, if anybody is interested in being on the Top 5 Weekly or Bleacher Features in the future, just hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and I'm very readily available to answer any questions. So for Manning and myself, also before we leave, there's 3 more episodes of this special 4-part series of Academy Award winning. So just kind of look out for the other 3 parts. If you see this one, you'd like it, kind of go looking for the other parts, because they're going to be out there as well. So for Manning and myself, good evening, everybody.